the atomic bomb, a weapon of unimaginable power. It ended World War II. It thrust us into a new era, the atomic age. We entered this age with a mix of fear and fascination, the raw power of the atom, both terrifying and exhilarating. The Cold War was escalating. Nuclear weapons, a looming threat. We needed to understand the effects of radiation, its impact on human health. Scientists embarked on a quest, a project known as Sunshine. The 1950s, the world was captivated by the space race, but behind the scenes, another race was unfolding, a race to understand the deadly consequences of nuclear fallout. Project Sunshine emerged from this urgency, a top-secret endeavor, its mission to study the effects of radioactive fallout on human health. The project's existence remained largely unknown. Even today, its full story is still being pieced together. Project Sunshine's methods were controversial. They involved collecting human tissue samples from around the world without informed consent. These samples held the key to understanding how radiation moved through the environment and its impact on human bodies. The seeds of Project Sunshine were sown in the aftermath of World War II. The world had witnessed the destructive force of the atom. Hiroshima and Nagasaki serve as stark reminders. The invisible threat of radiation loomed large. Scientists and policymakers grappled with a chilling reality. Nuclear testing was contaminating the environment. Radioactive isotopes carried by the wind were spreading across the globe. The long-term effects on human health remained unknown. This uncertainty fueled a sense of urgency. Project Sunshine emerged as a response, a top-secret initiative to unravel the mysteries of radioactive fallout. In 1953, the project received official sanction from the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission. Its mission was clear: to study the uptake and distribution of radioactive materials in the human body. Project Sunshine brought together a diverse group of individuals: physicists, chemists, medical doctors, all united by a common goal: to understand the impact of radiation on human health. One key figure was Willard Libby, a chemist from the Manhattan Project. Libby developed carbon-14 dating for ancient artifacts. He applied this to study strontium-90, a nuclear byproduct. Dr. Shields Warren saw radiation's effects in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. These scientists were driven by curiosity, duty, and public health protection. A global undertaking Sunshine's reach. Project Sunshine was not confined to the borders of the United States. The global nature of radioactive fallout necessitated a global approach. Researchers needed samples from around the world. This led to a vast network of collection sites, from hospitals and morgues to laboratories and research facilities. Samples of human tissue, particularly bone, were collected. The project's reach extended to every continent. The strontium-90 puzzle. Project Sunshine's primary focus was strontium-90. This radioactive isotope, a byproduct of nuclear fission, posed a significant threat to human health. Strontium-90 mimics calcium. It gets absorbed by bones. Once lodged within the skeletal structure, it emits radiation, damaging bone marrow and increasing the risk of bone cancer and leukemia. Understanding how strontium-90 moved through the environment and accumulated in the human body became a top priority. Scientists needed to determine how much strontium-90 was being released by nuclear tests, where it was concentrating, and how quickly it was making its way into the food chain. By analyzing the levels of strontium-90 in various environmental samples, such as soil, water, and plants, scientists could trace its pathway. The initial findings were alarming. Strontium-90 was detected in food and milk. Bones, a radioactive archive to accurately assess the impact of strontium-90 on human health. Researchers needed to look inside the human body. Bones, they discovered, held the key. Like a radioactive archive, bones recorded a history of an individual's exposure to strontium-90. Bone tissue constantly renews itself. As the body absorbs calcium, it also absorbs strontium-90, which gets incorporated into the bone matrix. By analyzing bone samples, scientists could determine the levels of strontium-90 that an individual had been exposed to over their lifetime. This realization led to a macabre necessity, the collection of human bone samples. Global collection efforts, reaching every corner. The quest for bone samples transformed Project Sunshine into a global undertaking. Researchers established a vast network of collection points spanning every continent, hospitals, morgues, and even funeral homes became unwitting participants in this secret scientific endeavor. Medical professionals were instructed to collect bone samples from deceased individuals, often without the knowledge or consent of their families. The samples, labeled with minimal information to protect the identities of the deceased, were then sent to designated laboratories for analysis. Thousands of bone samples were gathered from individuals of all ages and backgrounds. The expanding scope of Project Sunshine. As Project Sunshine progressed, its scope expanded beyond strontium-90. Scientists began to investigate the effects of other radioactive isotopes released by nuclear detonations, such as cesium-137 and iodine-131. Cesium-137, with a longer half-life than strontium-90, posed a long-term threat to human health. It accumulated in muscles and organs, increasing the risk of various cancers. The project's expanded focus led to the collection of an even wider range of tissue samples. Whispers in the dark, the unraveling of secrecy. For years, Project Sunshine operated under a cloak of secrecy. Its existence, its methods, its very purpose hidden from public view. but secrets like radioactive isotopes have a way of seeping out. The first cracks in the wall of secrecy appeared in the 1960s. Journalists, researchers, and activists began to uncover fragments of information about the project. Rumors circulated of human tissue being collected without consent, of bodies being used for research without the knowledge of families. One of the key figures who helped bring Project Sunshine to light was a young reporter named Eileen Wellsome. Her relentless investigation, spanning a decade, would eventually expose the full extent of Project Sunshine's activities. These revelations sent shockwaves through the scientific community and the public at large. The morality of science, ethical questions arise. The revelations about Project Sunshine ignited a fierce debate about the ethics of scientific research. Critics argued that the project's methods were a blatant violation of human rights. Collecting tissue samples without informed consent, they argued, was a fundamental breach of trust. It treated human beings as mere specimens, disregarding their dignity and autonomy. Defenders of the project, however, maintained that the research was justified by its scientific and public health benefits. They argued that the data collected was crucial to understanding the risks of radiation exposure and developing measures to protect public health. This debate raised fundamental questions about the limits of scientific inquiry. In the pursuit of knowledge, how far is too far? Fallout of distrust, public outrage, and official responses. Public outrage over Project Sunshine was swift and intense. People were horrified to learn that their government had been secretly collecting and experimenting on human remains. The lack of transparency, the disregard for informed consent, and the exploitation of vulnerable populations fueled a wave of anger and distrust. The government's initial response was defensive and inadequate. Officials downplayed the ethical concerns, emphasizing the project's scientific contributions and its role in protecting national security. However, as public pressure mounted, the government was forced to take action. In 1995, President Bill Clinton issued a formal apology for Project Sunshine, acknowledging the government's wrongdoing and promising greater transparency in future research endeavors. These official responses, while a step in the right direction, did little to alleviate the public sense of betrayal. A legacy tarnished Project Sunshine's place in history. Project Sunshine stands as a cautionary tale in the annals of science. The project's legacy is a complex tapestry woven from scientific breakthroughs and ethical transgressions. It yielded valuable data on radioactive fallout, but came at a steep ethical cost. The project's disregard for informed consent left an indelible stain on its legacy. Project Sunshine faced a formidable challenge from the outset: how to measure something invisible and ubiquitous. Radiation, unlike other environmental contaminants, can't be seen, smelled, or tasted. Its effects, often delayed and subtle, made it even more difficult to track and quantify. Scientists relied on a variety of instruments to detect and measure radiation levels in the environment and in biological samples. Geiger counters, with their distinctive clicking sounds, became iconic symbols of the atomic age. These instruments detected ionizing radiation, measuring its intensity and providing crucial data on the levels of radioactive contamination. However, measuring radiation was only the first step. Scientists needed to determine the types of radioactive isotopes present, their concentrations, and their potential pathways into the human body. Understanding how radiation moved from the atmosphere into the human body became a central focus of Project Sunshine. Scientists meticulously traced the pathways of radioactive fallout, mapping its journey from nuclear test sites to distant corners of the globe. Atmospheric circulation patterns played a crucial role in dispersing radioactive particles. Prevailing winds carried fallout from test sites across continents and oceans, depositing it on land and water surfaces. Rainfall, a natural cleansing mechanism, also brought radioactive particles down to Earth, contaminating soil, water sources, and vegetation. Plants absorbed radioactive isotopes from the soil through their roots, incorporating them into their tissues. Humans, at the top of this complex web, were exposed to radiation through the food they consumed. Project Sunshine's research revealed that the human body doesn't absorb and retain all radioactive isotopes equally. Factors such as age, diet, and overall health influenced an individual's susceptibility to radiation exposure. Children, with their rapidly developing tissues and higher metabolic rates, were found to be particularly vulnerable to the effects of radiation. Their growing bones, actively absorbing calcium, were also more likely to take up strontium-90, increasing their risk of bone cancer and leukemia. Dietary habits also played a significant role. People who consumed large amounts of milk, a primary source of calcium, were more likely to ingest strontium-90. Understanding these variations in uptake and risk was crucial for developing effective public health policies. Data, models, and predictions. Building the Sunshine Report. Project Sunshine generated vast data. Thousands of samples provided a global snapshot of radioactive contamination. Scientists developed models to predict long-term health effects. Models estimated the relationship between radiation dose and cancer risk. The Sunshine Report outlined radioactive fallout and health risks. Despite controversy, it became a landmark in radiation research. Project Sunshine's impact on public policy. The revelations of Project Sunshine sent shockwaves through society, serving as a wake-up call. The world was forced to confront the consequences of the nuclear age. Public outrage fueled a growing anti-nuclear movement. Citizens demanded an end to atmospheric nuclear testing. Protests erupted and politicians felt the pressure to act. Project Sunshine's findings provided crucial scientific ammunition. This culminated in the signing of the Limited Test Ban Treaty in 1963. The legacy of Sunshine shaping modern radiation protection standards. Project Sunshine's data, though obtained through morally questionable means, proved invaluable in establishing international radiation protection standards. The ICRP, formed in 1928, set safe limits for exposure to ionizing radiation. They developed the concept of acceptable risk, managing exposure to minimize harm. The legacy of Project Sunshine lives on in these standards, guiding radiation protection practices worldwide. Echoes of the past, Project Sunshine's relevance in the 21st century. Project Sunshine may seem like a relic of the Cold War, but its relevance extends beyond the 20th century. The ethical dilemmas it raised continue to resonate today, especially in bioethics and research involving human subjects. Questions about informed consent, data privacy, and genetic discrimination are more pressing than ever. Project Sunshine serves as a reminder of the importance of ethical oversight in scientific research. The Faustian bargain of knowledge. Project Sunshine presents a troubling paradox. It offered invaluable insights into radiation dangers, yet it achieved this through unethical means. Can we accept knowledge gained at such a moral cost? The answer is complex and multifaceted. We cannot erase the past, but we can learn from them. The pursuit of knowledge must be guided by ethical principles. Safeguarding our future. Lessons from the ashes. Project Sunshine is a cautionary tale with profound implications for our future. As we explore genetic engineering, AI, and climate change, its lessons loom large. Transparency, accountability, and informed consent are essential. The public must shape scientific research to align with our values. Let us learn from past mistakes and build a future aligned with our shared humanity.